Okay, we're talking about graph, function, slope, that weird corner of the test where there's lots of hidden points and they give us information that looks a lot more confusing than it is. So I'm going to zoom in here in a second. I just want to show that the answers are almost always the same. We're going to be comparing this little equation and this graph. And whenever they do that, they're going to say, you know, first one's faster. No, the second one's faster. Or they're the same. Or they're either going to say neither or there's no way to know. So those where the choices are. So I'm going to zoom in so we can see this thing better. And now we're putting this question under how can I get questions right without doing any math? So they're asking slope. This is a dumb question. It's not as dumb as the wooden car question, but two bees are traveling. Betsy bee, because they name themselves, travels according to this function. D equals 3t, where the rate is measured in meters per second. Brian bee is measured on a graph. Which bee travels faster? So we're going to do this bottom one first.
Okie dokie.
Okay, and all we do, this is a slope question. They don't use the word slope, but slope is just a relationship between two numbers. You know, like we said, how many donuts can I eat in a minute? Miles per gallon, miles per hour. There's miles and hours. It's just a relationship between two things. This is distance and time. So all we do whenever we see a graph, and it's always a straight line. This is the restaurant, and this is where the band is playing. And all we need is directions on a city block. How do I get from the restaurant to the music? Well, we always do directions the same way. It's city blocks. Well, you go 2 blocks this way. That's your bottom number. We always go from left to right first because time always moves forward. That'll never be a negative number. And then we turn north, which is positive number. It's going to be a positive number, to here. Now they did it again. GED is so good at this. It's at 5. They didn't write 5. They could have. They could have typed the number 5 in there, but they didn't. So at that point, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks north. And that's our slope. And if we wanted to get an exact number from this, we could just type it into our calculator because this would be a calculator question. 5 divided by 2, and the calculator would say 2.5. And that means that Brian B, or whatever this stupid question is, for every 1 second, he goes 2.5 meters. That's his rate of flying. The question is, what do we compare to in this? We compare it to that number. No math at all. 3/1. So Betsy flies 3 meters per 1 second. Brian flies 2.5 meters per 1 second. Whichever is the bigger number is the faster bee. Betsy is faster. We didn't have to do any math to figure that out. So the number next to the letter, that's the rate or the slope. Whenever we have a graph like that, just do slope that way like city blocks, write your directions, and we're there. So I'm going to close off all this. This was 2.5. Well, really, it was 5/2. And then we divided down with our calculator, got 2.5.
2.5.
Even if we didn't divide down, this is 3/1. And if we ever want to know which fraction is bigger,
Multiply.
Cross multiply overhead like that. Whichever has the bigger number on top is the answer. So Betsy is the faster bee. Brian's got to work on his cardio. So the answer will be Betsy. I'm going to click Brian to get it wrong. So we look at our explanation from GED. And this is what I want to show you. There's barely any math here. Now they use the distant rate formula, which is totally fine. It works. It's on the formula sheet. There's nothing wrong with it. But the visual thing of the graph, if we just do city blocks, build a fraction, we get to the same thing anyway. They went all the way up to 15/6 and all that stuff. We don't have to do that. We got to the same answer anyway. But you notice on this side, they're admitting there's no math to these things. It's just, can you speak our language? And our language is slope or rate is next to the x, or next to the variable or the letter. And it's worth the fight. Absolutely worth the fight.